Hey everybody, what's happening? Neil back once again with another film review for you. And it's a streaming review, it's a hindsight review as well, since I'm going to spoil the shit out of Texas Chainsaw Massacre on Netflix. And I'm glad it was a Netflix movie, because I don't think I would have gotten my money's worth at the theater. So I'm just going to say that. There's no "the" in front of it, which is interesting. It's just Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Okay. It is not a reboot. It is what I've been told is called a requel. A requel, which is like the first one or two movies they acknowledge, but then they ignore the rest of all the sequels in a franchise, and they just go right to, the future story of involving as many original characters from the original film as they could, much like the recent Halloween movies, and I'll get into that. So yeah, Texas Chainsaw, it's touted as basically a sequel, 50 years almost in the making. The original film came out in '74. The Tobe Hooper Shocker classic, which was done with such panache and style, and such a memorable imagery, disturbing, memorable imagery that, this new Texas Chainsaw, it is just a derivative of that, much like the remake that came out in the early 2000s as well. But it's well done, I'm not going to complain about the way it was shot, certainly. I think the cinematography, the directing, and a lot of the technical things about this film and the previous Texas Chainsaw iteration as well, it was pretty good. It's the issue is that it's just the same old bloodbath over and over again, so it does keep in tradition with the gory franchise as it always has. There's a lot of cool kills, and there's some creative kills too. There's a few things I've never seen before, so that's cool. And I like the way it was edited, but in the end, it's really just a ripoff of the new Halloween. It's just this requel idea. So many years later, bring in a young cast and keep at least one character from the original film, and they do that in this case. The film actually stars Sarah Yarkin as Melody and Elsie Fisher as her sister Lila, who survived a traumatic event at her high school. It was a high school shooting, and she had to deal with that, so she's got PTSD from that naturally. But she's also got experience, having to endure that horror, that nightmare that she had to go through. Kind of makes her stronger too, right? Right. So these are basically the two leads of this movie. The other characters, Dante and Ruth, that's a couple as well. But they don't really last too long in the movie. It really does focus mainly on the sisters here, Melody and Lila. William Hope is a recognizable face here as the sheriff. And you might recognize him as Lieutenant Gorman from Aliens. He was also in Sherlock Holmes and Hellraiser, I believe, as well. He's been in a whole bunch of things. So, yeah. Cool to see him again. And Alice Krige also. She's back. She plays Leatherface's mother, Ginny, in this movie. You might remember Alice Krige as the Borg Queen from Star Trek First Contact, and I believe she did a little bit of work in Voyager too. She's done a lot of horror movies and things as well, and so that's cool to see those recognizable faces. They're really the only really names that we're gonna know in this movie so far. Everyone else is pretty much new faces, which is good, although John Larroquette does return as the narrator once again, and he's narrated Texas Chainsaw stuff before, so it's nice to hear his voice again. Olwen Fourier plays Sally. Yes, Sally, the survivor from the original 1974 Tobe Hooper classic. She was recast, of course. The original actress was Marilyn Burns, and she sadly passed away in 2014. So we got a new actress playing Sally. Although, man, with her long white hair and, being armed to the teeth, she reminds me of Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween, and Halloween Kills. They both remind me of Sarah Connor, from Terminator 2 anyway. It's just, that might have been where this whole kind of thing kind of began, I guess. I don't know, the whole idea of, she's not done with the person who ruined her life so many years ago. That kind of story, And I like that story. It's just incredibly unoriginal, unfortunately. Mark Burnham is the name of the guy that gets to play Leatherface this time around. And yeah, no complaints here. Does a good job. He's certainly got the right build for it. So, good for him. Now into the plot. The four young people here, I guess they're in their mid-20s or so, They're podcasters. So you got Dante and Ruth, boyfriend and girlfriend, and then you got Melody and Lila, the sisters. They wind up in the city of Harlow, Texas, and they're there apparently to auction off the properties, to kind of, update and kind of modernize the dying town, because it's basically a ghost town. There's very few people there. It's like an old western town now, it seems. There's dust balls and tumbleweeds and stuff going around and stuff. It's pretty deserted. So one instance, while a couple of them, Melody and Dante, are checking out a rundown orphanage, which is very recognizable in terms of the architecture, they find this old woman, Ginny, Leatherface's mom. She's still living there, even though she was supposed to be evicted a while ago. And then there's some kind of like confusion with the bank, and I don't know if they were did they really supposed to kick her out, or were they wrong and she was right? But either way, the stress of it all, with the cops coming and everything, stresses out Ginny so much that she winds up having a heart attack, and her son, Leatherface, winds up carrying her to the ambulance and rides in the ambulance along with Dante's girlfriend, Ruth. She decides to go with them to make sure she's okay. Yeah, real smart, Ruth. Well, she didn't know, right? Of course. How could anyone know what was going to happen? But, I think we know what happens in the ambulance. What happens is she dies, Ginny, the mom dies. This sets off Leatherface, who goes nuts, and he snaps this guy's wrist right off, and the bones are sticking out, and then he stabs him in his own neck, in the guy's neck with the bones sticking out, protruding from his arm. It's like, oh, I don't think I've really seen that kill before, though. I don't know. Is that the first time they've done that one? Maybe, but it was good. I was impressed with that. And of course, a gun goes off and it shoots the sheriff, and the sheriff, William Hope, winds up dying as well. And the character Ruth, who, after the ambulance winds up crashing, we think she survives, because at first she's doing some smart things. She's taking some smart steps. She's really doing, all that any woman can do in this situation. Any person can do in this situation to survive. But she winds up killed anyway. So we kind of think that she's going to live, but nope, she gets it. Leatherface reaches right through the window there and kills her with a knife. So then Leatherface, after putting on his mother's face, he puts on his mother's skin on his face. Kind of expected, right? I mean, he is Leatherface, we kind of knew that was coming. I didn't know it was going to be his mom's face, but still, yikes. He winds up going on a killing spree, back in Harlow, the tiny ghost town there. And, from there we get many deaths, many deaths. Dante gets killed, or at least we think he gets killed. He gets up and he gets to walk for a little while, and then warns the others. And then the mechanic that doesn't like these kids, that lives there in Harlow, he winds up taking on Leatherface and loses. But he winds up dropping the keys for the bus. None of that matters, because there's this bus of social media people, podcasters, people that are there to look at the property and kind of, make it hip and all that stuff. This whole busload of people, almost all of them wind up getting wiped out, because Leatherface winds up getting on the bus, as the bus driver is so dumb. He just gets out and he's just like, yeah, no problem. And they're telling him, don't leave. But he's like, he gets out anyway. He doesn't stop, he doesn't listen. He just gets out anyway. He winds up getting decapitated. And a whole busload of people get killed, except for Melody and Lila. They escape into the bathroom. There's one really cool kill where one girl tries to escape through the window and she gets sawed in half, and oh my god. So and it's also really, really funny to see them shooting him with their phones on Instagram or whatever it might be, TikTok, whatever, Facebook, YouTube, some kind of social media platform, and they're shooting live, and Leatherface is killing them, right? He's sawing into people, and the blood spurting everywhere, and the comments on the phone are so hilarious, especially the last comment that we see, which is, "This looks fake." That's wonderful. That's a nice little touch there. I enjoyed that little slight bit of comedy there. Comedy relief amongst the slaughter, and it is, oh my goodness, quite the slaughter. Whew. Yeah. So Okay, that was fun. The girls wind up escaping the bus, and they wind up getting saved by Sally, who goes after Leatherface. And then Sally gets chainsawed. She does a lot of damage to Leatherface, but then she gets chainsawed, and he lifts her up with the chainsaw, and she's dead for sure. He throws her onto a bunch of garbage bags and stuff, and you think she's dead for sure, but but of course, after the girls are still battling Leatherface, she comes back and she saves the girls again because she's still alive. She was able to shoot Leatherface somehow. I call shenanigans on that for sure. I mean, even in a fairly unrealistic horror movie where the killer is so tough to kill, the killer can survive bullets, but I don't know about humans surviving chainsaws ripping into them. It's like, yeah, no problem. You can just still operate a gun. No problem after that. I don't know. It's a bit too much of suspension of disbelief, I think. So Sally winds up saving the girls, and then Sally finally dies of her wounds, and the girls get away. So you think, after shooting him and thinking that he's, drowned after he gets, knocked up the chin, and he's, you think that would be enough to kill a guy. He's been shot a few times, and he winds up in this bloody water, and the girls escape, and they run away, and they just, they get away, right? And they get in their trucks, and they get away, and of course, this is the very, very end of the movie, okay? Of course, the ladies get, a little cocky. They get a little comfortable, thinking for sure he's dead. But of course he's not. So Leatherface comes out of nowhere and grabs Melody, and saws her head off and holds it up in the rearview mirror. Lila can see her, and she's shrieking out and freaking out, and that's, it's a nice little way to end it, just kind of like the original film where the original survivor girl is, the last girl is getting away, and she's just delirious. She's just she's just freaking out like that. In this case, Lila is just traumatized. Obviously, she's not smiling and laughing in any way. She's freaking out like, no, my God, no. And that, to me, that was like a true horror ending. And I was very happy with that ending. I was like, okay, you guys get some marks for that ending. I like that ending. It was much better than just the straight up, like, okay, we'll be sisters, and life will be okay from now on. Like, come on, like that would have been so disappointing. So I would have given it a much lower score had they gone with that. So very happy with that little kind of twist ending, a little bit there. But again, it is, it is like Halloween Kills. It's a very similar ending to Halloween Kills, I thought. Laurie Strode's daughter dies at the end of that one, and that's kind of how it ends, with like the stare down of Laurie and Michael Myers. And in this case, we have, Lila and Leatherface. So are we going to have a Lila versus Leatherface like sequel to this movie on Netflix eventually? Possibly. I don't know. I guess it depends on the feedback. So despite the fun ending, I thought, because it is too similar to Halloween, Sally surviving the chainsaw attack, I thought was BS. It doesn't really offer anything new, really. I mean, the bus kills was the highlight. You get the sense like, oh God, they're all trapped like, fish in a barrel now, like they're all screwed. And that was kind of, like, you just kind of dread all the blood that's coming, because it's coming, but it wasn't really kind of surprising or even that shocking. It was funny, like I said, because of the streaming and everything and the comments, but it still wasn't that great. The swinging door kill, when they kill Dante, I thought that was an homage to the original film, where you can only see a little bit what's happening. We've seen that before. I mean, that's not the first time that, any movie or TV show's done that, I'm pretty sure. But it was an homage to the original 74 film when Leatherface closes the door. I think it was meant to be like that. I could be wrong, but really, I just thought it was kind of lame compared to that. Some of the lines were stupid, of course, like, try anything and you're canceled, bro. And it's just like, oh God, please kill him immediately. The guy with the cell phone that's like, hey man, don't fuck around or we'll cancel you, like, on social media. It's like, he deserves to die, clearly, right away. It's diverting, the movie is watchable. The bus kills were definitely the highlight of the whole movie. But, in the end, it is just kind of derivative. Too many dumb characters. Not enough interesting characters, I thought. It's just not that memorable. I'm going to give Texas Chainsaw Massacre a 6 out of 10. It's worth watching one time if you love your gory horror movies. Absolutely. Definitely worth checking out, because I thought the directing and editing was good, and it does have a couple of good light moments. I just wish that the characters were a little better, you know, and maybe a bit more of a punch in the story in the middle. But yeah, overall, it's not terrible, but it's not great. It's okay. Anyway, that's all from me, guys. Neil, back once again here. Keep on doing these reviews. I thought, what the hell, I'll do another, movie review. Why not? It's on TV anyway, so, I thought I would stick with TV reviews and streaming reviews, but why not, do movies too, if I want to, if I have the time to watch them. So thank you very much for tuning in, and please comment below, like and subscribe and all that stuff. Let me know what you thought of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, if you saw it, if you're a big bloody horror fan. All right, guys, thanks again for tuning in. Peace.